Beneath every footstep, beneath every root, lies a world that breathes in silence. The story begins in the dark, not the darkness of night, but of depth. A living darkness, a world beneath our world. There, in chambers carved by patience and purpose, millions move without eyes, without voices, yet with perfect understanding. They are the builders of empires older than humanity, the ants. For every forest there is a capital, for every hill a kingdom. Beneath each one lies a civilization that never sleeps. The colony breathes like a single creature. Every tunnel is an artery, every chamber a lung. The heartbeat, a rhythm made of countless feet tapping in sync. Thousands of legs whispering through the soil, turning chaos into order. Each ant is born with a purpose sealed into its body. Soldier, worker, nurse, scavenger. They never question. They never falter. They simply know. To them, obedience isn't slavery. It's instinct. And instinct is perfection. Above them, the sun rises and falls, storms rage and die. But below, the colony remains. A kingdom of tunnels, temperature, and scent. At the heart of it all rests the queen, colossal, unmoving, surrounded by loyal attendants. She is no ruler in the human sense. She does not speak, command, or punish. Her power is chemical, not royal. Her scent, her pheromones, drift through the tunnels like invisible scripture. They tell the colony what to do, when to do it, and how to survive. In her silence lies the law. In her scent lies the world. If she dies, her scent fades, and with it the meaning of life itself. Because in the world of ants, purpose is not chosen. It is given. Day after day, the workers gather food, fragments of leaves, seeds, corpses of fallen insects. Others tend to the young, cleaning them with tireless devotion. Soldiers stand guard, jaws sharpened like blades, ready to sacrifice everything for a colony that never even knows their names. And yet there is no complaint, no rebellion, no dream of more. To watch them is to witness the purest form of harmony, a design so complete that it borders on divinity. The world above changes, empires rise and fall, men fight over flags and gods. But the ants persist, untouched by vanity, bound only by the wisdom of nature. To man, survival is struggle. To ants, it is a ceremony. If one could peel back the skin of the earth, they would see architecture unlike any made by hands. Vast networks of tunnels stretching meters deep, perfect ventilation shafts, fungus gardens, nurseries, burial grounds. All built without blueprints, yet with mathematical precision. Every grain of soil has been touched by discipline. Every path leads to purpose. There are wars, yes, silent, unseen, waged for territory and resources. But even in war, there is order. No madness, no chaos, only function. This is nature's monarchy, an empire without ego. And the queen, though never crowned, is worshipped like a god of scent and fertility. But perfection is a fragile thing. It survives not because it is unbreakable, but because the world allows it to be. And deep beneath the soil, even the smallest change, a vibration, a drought, a new pheromone, can alter the course of destiny. The ants have thrived for over 100 million years. They have outlived dinosaurs, witnessed continents drift apart, and turned dead forests into living cities. Yet, their order depends on one thing, the queen's living scent. If it fades, the invisible thread binding millions together will snap. And when it does, something ancient and unthinkable stirs. For when order dies, nature experiments. The hum of millions slows, a faint tension enters the earth. The colony, once a chorus of purpose, begins to tremble. Somewhere, in the deepest chamber, the queen's breath shortens. Her attendants twitch nervously. Her scent weakens. Above ground, the forest sways with wind and sunlight, unaware that beneath its roots, an empire is dying. It begins with silence, always silence. And in that silence, something will rise, something nature never intended. Every empire has a heartbeat, and in this one, that heartbeat was her. The queen, the mother, the scent, the code of life, lies still at the center of her chambers. For seasons beyond counting, she is ruled without will, without ego. The pulse that guided millions through storms and droughts, predators and plagues. Now that pulse begins to fade. Her attendants gather, trembling in silent panic. Their antennae brush her motionless body, searching for signals that no longer come. The soil, for the first time in generations, feels still. At first, it is subtle, almost invisible. The chemical language that once flowed like rivers through the tunnels begins to dry up. Workers lose direction. Soldiers wander aimlessly. The larvae are fed twice, then not at all. The colony hum, that low vibration that echoes through the earth, weakens until the silence feels unnatural, oppressive. In a world where no one speaks, silence is death. They do not understand death as humans do. To an ant, life is continuity. As long as the scent flows, existence flows. But when it stops, instinct fails. Confusion seeps in like smoke. The workers abandon their tasks. The soldiers turn restless. The very soil seems to hold its breath. In the deepest chamber, beneath roots and stone, the queen's body is lifted by her attendants. Slow, deliberate, reverent. They do not weep. They do not know how. But every movement carries a weight of ritual older than time. Her corpse is carried through tunnels carved by generations she birthed, and every ant that touches her releases a faint chemical whisper, a trace of mourning encoded in scent. They lay her body in a hollow chamber lined with fungus and earth, their silent cathedral. Her attendants stay beside her until they die. To men, this would be called grief. To them, it was obedience to the last command. Now the colony fractures. Without the queen's signal, the system that once functioned with perfect logic begins to splinter. Workers gather food but forget where to store it. Nurses guard larvae that will never hatch. Soldiers fight shadows, defending tunnels that no longer matter. The air thickens with competing pheromones. Tiny signals, meaningless, colliding in chaos. The colony, once a single mind, becomes a storm of confusion. From above, the hill looks unchanged, but below, civilization unravels. It is not sound that builds order. It is scent, and when scent lies, truth dies. Among the chaos, one remains steady, Noctis, a soldier larger than the rest, his mandibles scarred from countless battles with termites and rival ants. He was born to guard, not to think, to fight, not to lead. Yet when others scatter, he moves with purpose. He patrols the queen's empty chamber, repelling scavengers who creep near her body. He carries fallen workers out of the way, arranges food piles, and guides the lost back to tunnels that still hold structure. Something in him resists collapse, an instinct, yes, but deeper, stranger. Some creatures are born from order. Others are born when order breaks. Unnoticed by the others, Noctis begins to release his own scent. It is faint at first, just enough to calm nearby ants. But with each passing hour, it grows stronger. This is not mutation by design, but by necessity. Nature, when faced with chaos, improvises. And sometimes, improvisation creates anomalies. The workers begin to follow his trail. They obey. Not perfectly, not entirely, but enough. And for the first time in the history of that soil, leadership does not come from motherhood. It comes from something else, something new. In the absence of the queen, the earth gave birth to a shadow. And in that shadow, ambition began to stir. Weeks pass. The queen's body decays into the soil, her scent, once the pulse of the colony, now just a memory carried in dust. The tunnels echo with a new rhythm, different, uncertain. Noctis stands in the old royal chamber, surrounded by the scent of death and duty. The colony has not yet crowned him. Nature has not yet punished him. But something in the dark watches, not with eyes, but with balance. And balance in nature always comes to collect. Beneath the earth, the first crown was forged, not in gold, but in defiance. When the world forgets its order, something always rises to replace it. Sometimes it is chaos. Sometimes it is a king. The queen is gone. Her scent, once sacred and unbroken, has faded into memory. Yet deep beneath the roots, a new rhythm begins to pulse. Not as steady, not as pure, but alive nonetheless. Its source is Noctis, the soldier who would not bow to extinction. Noctis works without rest. While others drift aimlessly, he rebuilds collapsed tunnels, rearranges the food chambers, and defends the larvae as though protecting the heart of a living god. His scent, faint, raw, improvised, fills the air with order, though it is not the queen's. It is rougher, sharper, almost aggressive. And yet, it works. The nearest workers stop wandering. They gather crumbs. They clean the tunnels. The nurses return to the larvae. A pattern, crude but functional, begins to emerge. From instinct came structure. From structure came command. Noctis does not understand what he is becoming. But for the first time, something inside him whispers, "Continue." The queen's scent had been gentle, instructive, maternal. Noctis is different. It does not suggest. It demands. He walks through the tunnels, antennae raised like banners. Everywhere he passes, the others follow, their movements syncing with his. When he stops, they stop. When he charges toward a threat, they surge behind him like a living tide. His pheromones grow stronger with every act of leadership, each victory amplifying the illusion of destiny. What began as imitation became intention. What began as survival became command. He carves out a new chamber, not at the heart of the colony, but above it, near the surface where light filters faintly through cracks in the soil. Here he gathers food, soldiers, and relics from the queen's old chamber. Fragments of her carapace, dry fungus, the stones that once encircled her egg chambers. He arranges them into a circle, a ritual built from instinct and absence. To the others, it becomes sacred. They start to bring offerings, dead insects, seeds, even the limbs of intruders. Noctis sits among them, his scent heavy in the air, his shadow stretching long against the walls. The colony, for the first time in its long history, has something new. A symbol of leadership, a throne. He did not crown himself. The colony did, and that made the illusion complete. For nature speaks in balance, and something beneath the roots had begun to speak in power. Soon, the tunnels overflow. Noctis demands more food, more chambers, more labor. He organizes scouts into hunting groups, a behavior foreign to their kind. They begin raiding nearby nests for resources, stealing eggs and larvae. Each conquest strengthens his aura. Each death makes his scent thicker, sharper, laced with the chemical residue of aggression. The colony's numbers swell beyond their sustainable limit. The soil grows hot with movement, a city of millions running on the will of one. The queen ruled through nature. The king ruled through fear. In the midst of all this, Noctis forgets why soldiers exist. He was bred to defend life, not command it. But the scent of power rewired him, and through him, the colony itself began to change. Workers became soldiers. Nurses became guards. Larvae were left untended as the colony prepared for war. Purpose decayed. Duty twisted. The lines that nature had drawn blurred beneath his shadow. Noctis believes he is saving them, that his rule is destiny, not deviation. He cannot smell the rot that creeps beneath the order he's building. He cannot feel the eyes of predators drawn by the vibrations of his restless kingdom. At the mouth of the colony, beneath the tangled roots of the forest, Noctis stands surrounded by thousands of soldiers. They await his command. He does not speak, he does not need to. The air hums with his scent, heavy and absolute. He looks toward the horizon, where another mound rises. The colony of Vestra, rival, neighbor, threat. Nature had given him survival. but he wanted dominion. And so, with one pulse of scent, the march begins. Tunnels fill with soldiers. The soil quivers under the weight of war. The first king had risen, and with him, the age of silence was ending. At dawn, the forest floor looks calm. Dew slides along blades of grass. A fallen berry glistens in the light. But beneath it all, the world quivers. Hundreds of tunnels shift with vibration, the synchronized rhythm of marching legs. A pulse like a heartbeat, the king's heartbeat. Noctis stands near the tunnel mouth, his mandibles locked in a silent snarl. Around him swarm his legions, warriors bred from workers, enlarged through excess feeding and strange mutation. They wait for the signal. Across the soil, faint trails of scent drift from another mound. Vestra, the rival colony. Their queen still lives, old, cautious, steeped in tradition. To Noctis, her scent is an insult, a remnant of a world that denied him. He did not seek war for hunger. He sought it for proof that nature's throne could be taken. The attack begins with the silent rush of shadows. Thousands pour from the earth like a black flood, spilling over roots and rocks. The Vestrans are caught off guard. Their guards raise alarms, pheromones of panic filling the air like fire. Then, the first clash. Mandible meets mandible, bodies snap, limbs scatter. The soil darkens with fluids. The air fills with the acid scent of death. Noctis charges at the front, unrelenting. He crushes, tears, commands. Every fallen soldier only fuels his scent, his dominance spreading through the swarm like a chemical storm. The Vestrans retreat into their tunnels. But Noctis knows the surface is never the victory. The heart lies below. He leads his army underground, where the tunnels grow narrow and humid. Every sound echoes, every vibration a signal of danger. The Vestrans fight from the walls, ambushing from hidden crevices, striking then vanishing. But Noctis has learned to anticipate. He changes strategy, sends smaller groups ahead, orders counter-ambushes. War evolves, even in silence. The deeper they go, the thicker the air becomes with pheromones. Confusion, aggression, command. Until at last, Noctis reaches the queen's chamber. She is enormous, pale, trembling, her body a temple of eggs and memory. Her guards surround her in desperation. Noctis pauses. For a heartbeat, his mind flickers, an image of his own lost queen, her scent, her order. But then he crushes it. He lunges, and the earth shudders as the old queen dies. With her death, the balance ended, and from that wound, chaos was born. For the first time in known memory, one colony consumes another. The Vestrans' food, larvae, and survivors are dragged into Noctis's nest. Trophies, slaves, resources. The soil above cracks from the expansion. One mound becomes 3, then 5, all under one banner, one scent. Noctis's pheromones now blanket half the forest floor, a chemical empire. Even birds and beetles avoid the area. The ground itself seems cursed, crawling and shifting day and night. He becomes a legend among ants, half myth, half terror. Colonies far away whisper through their scouts. There is a place where ants no longer serve queens. They serve a king. But conquest carries a cost. As the colony expands, oxygen thins. The tunnels collapse from overwork. Larvae die from heat. Fungal farms rot from neglect. The workers, once loyal, begin to fight among themselves, not from rebellion, but from confusion. Noctis's scent has become too strong, too saturated, too unnatural. It overrules their instincts, making them attack shadows and each other. The king cannot rest. His mind burns, consumed by the endless need to control. Every moment feels like suffocation. Every vibration feels like betrayal. When power consumes instinct, instinct fights back. The next war does not come from another colony. It comes from below. A hidden chamber, one of the Vestrans' old tunnels, begins to stir with rebels. Led by a nurse ant, Ceres, who remembers the old scent of peace. She gathers those who resist Noctis's control, those whose minds still echo the memory of queenship. They begin a silent uprising, destroying food lines and blocking ventilation tunnels, releasing pheromones that confuse soldiers and obscure the king's command. For every battle Noctis wins, another spark ignites beneath him. One night, the tunnels quake, a collapse from deep below. Air rushes in carrying chaos. The rebels have breached the central chamber. Noctis descends to confront them, his body scarred, his scent raging like fire. The air is thick with conflicting signals. Attack, retreat, fear, loyalty, all blending into madness. He slaughters without pause, his own soldiers falling under his jaws. The scent of war becomes so dense that even his own antennae falter. And in that confusion, Sarah strikes. She bites deep into his abdomen. A fatal wound, one that seeps slowly but surely. As his strength fades, Noctis collapses beside the ruins of his throne, the relics of the old queen scattered around him. The first king died not from defeat, but from the weight of his own creation. The tunnels grow silent. The colony fractures. The earth exhales, reclaiming what had tried to rise above its nature. Weeks later, new queens hatch among the wreckage. Each departs into the wind, seeking new ground to begin again, not as rulers, but as nature intended. The forest restores its balance. Predators return. The soil cools. But beneath it all, deep in the abandoned tunnels, lies the body of Noctis, fossilized in the hardened earth. And even now, when the rain falls heavily and the wind stirs the grass, you can almost hear it. A faint hum from below, the echo of a command that once dared to challenge nature itself. He rose where no king should rise. He fell where no god could stand. Yet in the silence beneath our feet, the legend endures. Time devours all things, stone, bone, and memory. Yet some names, whispered in the dark, refuse to be buried. Seasons pass. Rain softens the soil that once ran red. The forest blooms again, green, unknowing. New colonies rise where ruin once lay, their queens laying eggs in chambers filled with the scent of renewal. Life returns to its rhythm. The ants of the new world do not speak of Noctis, not at first. His tunnels are sealed, his bones entombed in dust. The earth pretends to forget. But deep in the lower chambers of the forest floor, where light has never touched and sound carries like ghostly music, his story stirs again. It begins as a superstition among the foragers, a strange vibration they feel through their legs when passing near a certain mound. A pulse, faint but rhythmic. Some say it's the heartbeat of the soil. Others claim it's something older. The workers call it the tremor. The elders, though, call it something else. The king still dreams, and in their version, Noctis did not die. He descended. They say he sleeps below the roots, waiting for the scent of chaos to awaken him, the moment when order fails again. Generations pass, and the tale of the Ant King evolves. To some, he is a warning, the one who defied nature and paid the ultimate price. To others, he is a visionary, a god who tried to free them from blind obedience. Every colony retells it differently. In the northern mounds, they whisper, "He was born of the queen's shadow, her instinct made flesh." In the western nests, they say, "He stole fire from the gods of the surface and tried to light the underworld." And in the deep caverns where no scent carries and light cannot reach, they say something darker still. He is not gone. The earth feeds him. Among a distant colony, something new begins to stir. An ant unlike the others. Larger, stronger, the scent strangely familiar. It gathers followers, young soldiers who feel restless beneath the scent of their queen. They begin to mark their bodies with soil darkened by fungus, a sign of allegiance to something ancient. They call themselves the Order of the Black Carapace. By night, they gather in hidden tunnels and whisper the old creed. One mind to rule the swarm, one will to bind the many. The king shall return. The air in their chamber vibrates with reverence and fear. They are not rebels yet, but belief, like rot, begins quietly. Then one night, a storm breaks across the forest. Thunder shakes the ground, and rain floods the tunnels. Most ants rush to save their queen, their eggs, their food. But in the distance, near the ruins of Noctis's buried mound, the rain hits something hollow, a pocket of air trapped in ancient stone. And from beneath it comes a sound. Not thunder, not wind, something older. A vibration that hums like thousands of legs marching in unison. The ground quivers. The tremor returns, stronger than before. The nearby ants freeze. Their antennae twitch. And for a single, impossible moment, the pheromones in the air change. A mixture of command, rage, and memory. The king's scent. Across the forest, ants behave strangely. Workers pause in perfect synchrony. Soldiers gather at tunnel mouths, facing in the same direction, as if awaiting orders from something unseen. The queens release pheromones of warning, but it's useless. The signal is too deep, too old, too powerful. It lasts only minutes. Then the forest returns to silence. But something fundamental has shifted. The earth had remembered him, and so had they. In the oldest nests, a new generation grows up hearing the legend not as tragedy, but as destiny. They speak it in the pauses between work, in the stillness between wars. Once there was no king. Then one rose from dust and dared to command the earth itself. He fell, but his will became the heartbeat beneath our feet. And sometimes, when a storm passes and the air feels electric, you can feel that heartbeat still. A faint tremor, a whisper in the ground that says, "The colony remembers." The ants return to work. The forest breathes again. But somewhere, deep in the dark beneath the roots, the legend waits. Not dead, not alive, just dreaming. And when the next one dares to rise, the soil will know his name.